You're listening to Two Babies in a Business podcast about business, parenting, and partnerships, where my husband, Peter, and I pick a topic from a box and we talk about it. We run a communications and marketing firm out of Calgary, Alberta, CIPR Communications, and we are living life by design.
Life by Design. By the way, I didn't tell you this, but it's one of my goals, daily goals, is to write a book called Life by Design. So
Well, I knew you wanted to write a book. Well, I got two here.
that's the book I want to write. I've decided. So while you pick your
Right.
topic.
Oh, this one's an interesting one.
Okay.
Connection.
Connection.
Connect four. Okay, I have an interesting way to start this one. I don't usually start off, but I'm just going right in there. We often talk about, so from a business perspective, we often talk about, okay, reflecting on clients that go great or not go great, or when a relationship feels sticky with a client. And there's lots of things we talk about, but we talk about this like concept of like, who is our champion within an organization?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a two-way street, right? Like who is a champion for a client within our organization, and vice versa. And that's really about connection and connecting. And I think that especially for certain kind of task-oriented business folks, connection comes secondary, or can come secondary. But this like thought of connection, I think that, based on who we are as people, based on our team, again, I feel like a little bit of our corporate culture, but like you and I love to connect. Like I think that we have this ability to get to know clients, not only because that's a great way to make a sale or a great way to keep a client or a great way to like get more work, but it's just, I just think that we do it well because we are actually genuinely interested in getting to know these people and what makes them tick and
Totally.
and all the things.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. And as you're talking, I'm sort of thinking about sort of when things don't work out well, often one of the things that happens is I make a really strong connection with the person I'm selling to.
Yeah.
And then, that person decides to buy our services and then like just hands it to somebody else. You know what I mean? And like often the person who it's handed to is like, what is this? Who are these people? What's going on? Like, why am I right? And it's like all of a sudden it's this job that's not even necessarily in some small businesses up as part of their like job description necessarily. And it's like, and then it's really hard to create that connection and make things work, right? And versus kind of when in the sales process, if I'm talking to a few different people at the company, there's a transition that happens, proper transition, proper connections are made, proper sort of things are established, that's when things work out and projects go really well, right? So I mean, at the end of the day, we're in a business, people business, and sort of building those connections and building those personal connections is critical, actually is more critical. Like, and I sort of it's funny because I had this meeting with a couple of our team members yesterday about sort of CIPR marketing. And I was sort of saying, like, I'm just at a place as a business owner now where if we're not aligned on values with our clients, like I don't want to work with them. Like, it's like bad for me to say, but it really, it's like, and I always sort of say there's two types of people in the world, the people who get it and people who don't. And I recently asked somebody we're hiring, like, what does that mean to you? And I was really happy with their answer because, ultimately his answer came down to, and I believe this, it's like the people who get it understand that we're all people, we're all humans trying to service a contract, a client, or whatever, a need for a business or whatever. But at the end of the day, we're all people, and there's this whole trust that happens when we're all people and we come to the table as people, and when there's right, and then things can flow and things can happen versus, oh, this is just an SEO service and it's just a service and it's just a transaction and whatever, and there's no connection. Then it's like it's just not going to work. Like at the end of the day, like, and I told yesterday the team, our marketing team, about like, at the end of the day, it's like a lot of what we provide is somewhat of a commodity to some extent, but it's about the connections and the meaningful relationships and the meaningful getting each other that really makes things, sort of actually work and happen, and great things can happen. And, 1+1 is 4, right? Type of thing is really as a result of connection, more than anything else.
I think it took us a bit to understand this concept because you mentioned, okay, you make a connection in the sales process and then it's passed off on their end. But we faced this internally for a long time on our side. You'd make a great connection and it would be passed off. And I mean, you and I talked about this quite a bit on this podcast in the past and in this season too. Like, we're different, we focus on different things. And there was a time where it was very, that transition between you to me was very difficult. And as everyone who knows me knows, like, those were hard moments for me. Like, why do you keep going to this guy?
Yeah.
Like, like, don't look at him, look at me. Like, I'm your person now, right? Like,
Yeah.
um and it had to do with connection. It's not something to knock you for. You were creating strong connections. And then, we faced this struggle, as our team grew, because you and I were very much the
The
people,
business.
the business and the people that had made connections with. And
Yeah.
to this day, there are still clients that I'm gonna one day have to get over the fact, but like, I don't manage many clients anymore, which is a good thing for many reasons. But I do have particular clients I hold on to because of the connection, and I just understand the file so in depth. But I also I know their voice. I've seen them change within the organization and grow, and some people be promoted, and you just end up building connection with them. So I think that I talked about process before. I think process around connection too. We deliberately have done some things to be able to transition connection. So a
Yes.
really solid onboarding meeting internally. So you tell us all about the people, the politics, things that you've talked about, what you know about them. But then even from my side, so all of our new clients get a really nice onboarding survey that's not just about where do I send the bill and who's the project manager and how do you want to, what's your phone number in case of emergencies? It's what's your coffee order? What's your favorite guilty pleasure TV show? What was the last time an agency did something really memorable for you? And to me, it's not, I'm not trying to be a brown noser. It's like, I genuinely want to know. Like, I would
Yeah.
like to bring someone a coffee if I'm meeting them in person, and I don't want to get them a, Americano if they are actually someone who likes London Fogs. I want to know that. And, it allows me, who's very task oriented, to all of a sudden go, oh my God, you watch Big Brother too? What did you think of last season? I love
Yeah.
that. Like, and so now all of a sudden, yeah, they built a great relationship with you through onboarding. I'm building a different relationship with them. And then through, being able to have 15 minutes to, jokingly, but not really jokingly say, okay, this guy's gone, Peter's gone, we're your people now. We get to start building that connection and that
Yeah.
review
Yeah. There's a
point.
real transition of connection that needs to happen for sort of to have a successful transition from sales to execution, big time, right?
Yeah.
And I'll say too, like, connection's an interesting topic for us as well as a team, because we're a fully remote company. Everybody works from home and is completely, so, we have a couple rules at our company is camera on always. And so that to me is an important way to make sure that there's a connection and that there's people are actually looking at each other, right? We've been better at it. We're lately has been a little bit not our best few months because there's good reasons for it, but getting together in person more often, doing things
Yeah.
that are outside of work and having some fun, right? And I think similarly, just catching up with our clients a little bit on a personal level and being human and being personal. And I feel like we have, just, our clients right now are all good friends for the most part or whatever, or like there's just strong connections, personal connections there. And that, obviously, just from a pure business perspective, there's obviously like a stickiness factor to a good connection, like just from a pure ROI perspective. It's got a lot of business value to it, but like at the end of the day, it's like, hey, we all want to show up to work and enjoy our day. And we all want to have a good day and we want to have fun and we want to have good interactions with people. And that all starts with a good, strong connection, right? And then, I think there's a couple of things that, I gotta say, as a business leader in this environment, I kind of sucked for a while. I think I'm getting better, and I had to do some things You know, when I was a leader at Merit Contractors Association and I had an office environment, I was way better at connecting with my staff on a personal
Yeah.
level and just checking in and how you doing and knowing what's going on in their lives. And it's harder. It's way harder, and I have to be more diligent. So now I have a once a month kind of just check-in meeting with the staff. That's gotten, you know, sometimes we talk about work, sometimes we don't, sometimes we talk about life, sometimes we talk about food, sometimes what books are you reading, whatever, like, and it's just a deliberate period of time for half an hour a month just to sort of connect.
Yeah.
And I think it's really critical. And again, I think in the remote environment, you got to be way more deliberate about it. You do it more, you connect more with staff because you just deal with them more on a day-to-day basis, whereas I'm
Yeah.
kind of off on my own doing my own thing, so I don't connect as much with staff. So I've had to really sort of reflect on that and think about, geez, you know, I was really good at this in one job and I'm not as good at it in this job. But I think the
Yeah.
difference was because we're remote. And so I've kind of implemented some practices to make sure there's connection there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing on connection this past, I'm going to say quarter, has been reflecting on those that I do not have connection with.
Mm.
And I think this is in my personal life and in business. And again, I feel like there's a theme this last few episodes about like Christina and her pending midlife crisis. But you know, young Christina was very, you know, I don't want to say judge a book by its cover, but very like I react very quickly with my gut. I am a gut feeling person. If you know me, you know that. The first time Peter and I walked into the house that we live in, still to this day, 11 years later, I knew as soon as we walked in the door. We went and we saw a dozen other houses after that, but I left this house right away and said, no, that's our house. That's where we're moving. Fine, we'll go see as many houses as you want, but I know that's where we're gonna live. Peter and I think had quite a quick courtship. I knew in my gut, right? I'm led by my gut, and you know sometimes your initial gut is not on track. And you know, even I was sharing with you in the car ride home um, about someone I had known. This is a like personal life story, and my first few interactions with her, didn't love her. Thought, this is a whatever. And, you know, I've had the pleasure of kind of being around this individual more. And I think she's really freaking cool. And, you know, to me, that's me reflecting on connection and me definitely asking the question around why don't I have connection with this person? Because we actually, like looking in the mirror, have a lot in common and a
Mm.
lot the same. And this is a person that I should be able to understand or get on some sort of level with, not on every level. And then being able to be open myself up to connection, because once my gut tells me to close myself to connection, I close myself.
Yeah.
You know, I often joke that, you know, I'm the person who's not friends with any of her exes on any social media platform, because once that's over, you've deleted, you've blocked, and it's over. But like I've opened myself up to that. But then on the flip side, there's also this, and I think it's more in the workplace. I think obviously personally too, for me, it's been more in the workplace of why am I not connected with that person? Why am I not connected with that client in a way? I would say most clients I have a fairly um, easy time connecting with. Our business owners I have an easy connection with because we're talking about running a business together.
Mm.
For our, you know, clients that are also moms, I have an easy connection. We're talking about kids. And um uh, there are certain things where it's been the last year like, why is this so hard? And like, why do I feel nothing? Or why do I put myself out there and think, oh, that went really well, and it still doesn't? And to me, there's this, and you mentioned it, this like values misalignment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I think you have to pay attention to that in connection, that sometimes no matter how hard you try, there comes a point where you're gonna be a lot happier if you can step back and go, hey, you know what? I gave it my best effort, and now I need to trust my gut and go, you know what? We're not connecting.
Yeah.
This isn't serving either of us.
And I think that's a really important business and life lesson. And I think you and I have really, really been talking about this a lot lately. And it's like, hey, you know what? Like, um, yeah, if it's like so difficult and it's causing anxiety, it's causing stress, it's causing this, it's like it's not worth the money. And you know what? You know, the world will provide. And if you sort of take up, you know, decide not to, you know, renew a contract with this client because it's just not working and you're just not connecting. I think that's first of all a long-term investment in your business, even though it might be a revenue drop. It gives, you know, we had this conversation about a recent client that we sort of, you know, let go or whatever, right? And it was like, look, this just isn't working. We're not we're spending so much time trying to service this client that we're like getting taken away from serving clients that really fill our tanks and the ones we really feel good about working with and appreciate us, and you know, all we're just really well connected with. And it's like, hey, you know what, we could do so much better with these clients if we don't have this client to worry about. And then sure enough, you know, we sort of made that decision, a bunch of new work came in, the revenue has been replaced. You know what I mean? It's like it's not even a thing, right? And so I feel like you need to sort of be really true to yourself about that in business, and sort of not be so focused on the revenue. We can't let this client go because of the revenue. You need to sort of listen to your gut and say, you know what, it's just not working, and it's just not going to work. And I
It's
think
hard.
so, you
It's
know, it's
hard.
like the business relationship. I think it's similar to a personal relationship, an intimate relationship, even a family relationship, right? You know, sometimes the best thing to do is just to sort of walk away, and that's better for everybody, right? And so I
Yeah.
think ego gets in the way with that, all kinds of other things get in the way with that. Yeah, so I wanted to shift gears quickly on the topic of connection, though, to something that I've really been obsessed about lately is connection with yourself. And so you know, I guess we're such a busy society doing all the time. And you know, I'm really kind of been, it's interesting. So I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, like happiness podcasts and self-love podcasts and how to, you know, all these kinds of books, just amazing books and whatever. And I'm at a place where I've listened to so much of it, that now, and this is what I do, like I habit stack. So I like go on a walk with my dog and listen to this stuff and I look forward to it. I can't wait. And there's one more book I want to finish. And then after that, my new thing I want to do is go on these walks in silence. Because I'm still doing, I'm not being, right? And just being with yourself and connecting with yourself and allowing your thoughts to bubble up and seeing what's coming from inside out is so critical. And I think a lot of us just don't do that. And we're just constantly doing, constantly listening, constantly putting more audiobooks, more this, more that, more, you know, whatever, more. It's just do all the time. And if you're just doing, you can't actually be. And if you're not being, then you just can't connect with yourself. So that's my.
That's actually a very interesting concept. And I think about that from a I'm gonna say spin perspective. And like one of the things I really love about spin, and again, if you know me, you know I spin a few days a week, um, is I cannot, is actually a reason why I like golf too, is like I can't think about anything else while I'm doing those things. And I
Yeah.
don't think there's any other um, exercise or relationship with self that I can confidently say that in, right? In a spin environment, the phone is away. You're not obviously checking your phone
Yeah.
and doing things. You know, there's especially if you go to a place like YYC Cycle where you're quote unquote, you know, pedaling to the beat of the music, like there's some counting involved, you're paying attention, you're right, like I similar to all things in life, I like to give my 125% when I'm there. So to me, I really like it because it clears my mind in the
Yeah.
morning. There's nothing, I'm
Yeah.
not thinking about anything else. It's just I'm thinking about me and my whatever. And same with golf. But if I think about anything else in the
It's a
course, like
terrible
my
shot, right?
shit,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So no, I think there's definitely something to that. I mean, there we don't I think not especially you and I, but we play a lot of roles. We're constantly doing a lot of things. There's never not a time where there's a place where we can't think about nothing. Um, yeah, no, I almost go back to like us as a couple and in terms of connection. We talked about, or you talked about this a episode or two ago around like just like a nice snuggle at the end of the night on the couch. And it's like,
Hmm.
we're just being there too, right? We're not saying anything, but we're connecting. And I would say, probably 5 out of 7 days a week, that's the first time that we've actually like, I don't want to say like touched throughout the day, but like we're going, like we're not holding hands all day and loving each other in the kitchen or giving each other a kiss after a meeting. Like we're business partners, like all day
Yeah.
we're business partners. That's the hat we wear. And sometimes that's the only physical connection we've had in a day. And that's an important moment for us that, quote unquote unspoken, whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
yeah, I think it's interesting.
Yeah, no, I think it's one of the most important things. I mean, obviously we're all humans. A you know, we're a tribal kind of creature. We need connection. We need each other. We need physical touch. We need these things, right? And we need our, so yeah, I think it's so essential to us as humans. And I think we're so disconnected in our current society, and to a real detriment. And I think that's a lot of the illness, a lot of the things that are going on, a lot of the anxiety, a lot of the things I think are the result of this kind of disconnection, that's been sort of all over the place. And again, disconnection with ourselves to me is where it starts, because if I constantly have music or a podcast or something or work or my email or my phone right next to me or whatever, and I'm never just slowing down to kind of check myself and check in with myself, then it's so easy to get disconnected from yourself, and then you get disconnected from people, and then you get right, and it's just sort of kind of, it's just like a downward spiral, right? So yeah, so I mean, I would just say that obviously in business, connection is super, super critical in life. I mean, obviously with our kids and ourselves, and with yourself. So
I think it's interesting too, this like concept around like you need to disconnect from certain aspects to connect to other pieces, right? Like I leave my phone in the office at 8 o'clock every night, and it doesn't kind of like I consciously disconnect from that world.
yeah.
And whether I go to bed at 9 or 10, whatever, that phone has been gone. And I don't check it again until 4:30 in the morning when I'm doing my journaling.
So it's
I think
interesting
that's
because I actually have a habit of like, so my habit is don't check my phone until after I'm done journaling,
yeah.
so that I'm journaling independent of having looked at. So I mean, sometimes I'll look at my calendar just to sort of understand my
I look at
day
my
from a
calendar.
journal
Yeah.
perspective, but like I really try to be deliberate not to like check any messages from previous. I want to go into journaling with sort of just a clear mind,
Yeah.
and then sort of again, that's, and journaling and writing is just an incredible power in terms of connecting and connecting your brain and
Yeah.
your hand. There's something about writing. I mean, I'll just share this as a last story. I mean, when my mom died,
Maybe I have a last story though.
well, my last story. But when my mom died, I wrote her eulogy, and I first wrote it on paper with pen and paper, and it was just such a therapeutic thing. There's just some kind of therapy about with writing, and it really helps you connect with your thoughts and your feelings about things, and so and it really helped me kind of deal and cope with that situation, right? So
Yeah.
certainly journaling is an important aspect of connection with yourself, in my opinion. It's something I
Yeah.
encourage.
No, and I think too, from that perspective, like if something keeps coming up,
Yes,
right? Like if you've
pay
been
attention.
journaling about the same person or issue or situation, like there's a connection issue there that needs to be examined. Quickly, just to bring it back to business, because that's what I do. The camera on, camera off, and we I think have just in the last couple of months realized as we've reflected on clients, like we're a camera on culture, like you said, but like the success of our clients and that connection, especially in a post-COVID world where it's all about cameras and video calls, we have noticed that the success rate with those that are camera off cultures,
Is
very
low.
low.
Yeah.
We never feel the connection. There's still, I think, back to one client that, it was a very interesting experience. If I was walking down the street and this person passed me the project, I would have no idea if
Yeah.
I passed them or not. So I think this like realizing, you know, your culture and how you're connecting needs to match that of the client also, and their culture and how they connect, I think is important.
Totally.
There you go. Well, thank
All about
you.
the connections.
It is all about the connections in so many ways. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining in for another episode of Two Babies in a Business. CIPR Communications is a public relations and digital marketing firm partnering with clients across North America to reach their brand reputation and lead generation goals. Follow us on social at CIPR Comms and check out our website ciprcommunications.com for more information. If you have questions or want to be part of a future podcast, reach out at media@ciprcommunications.com. I'm James Falls, CIPR's PR specialist, and I'm looking forward to our next episode. Subscribe on your Spotify or iTunes account so you don't miss the next one.